Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back once again with the cute and cuddly Skaven. It's been a while since I've played them, so I figured let's get the ratty boys out for some fun. So today we're facing off against the Warriors of Chaos on one of the new maps from the new patch. I believe this is the Sword of Cain map. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, let's go to the army compositions. I've got Lord Scroll, of course. And in terms of his spell loadout, we've got Wither and Vermintide, since we're probably going to be facing some armor, and Vermintide's pretty much an auto pick. You want that Vermintide flowing, lots and lots of rats on the field. We've also got 2 items for lots of direct damage. An Assassin to back him up. In terms of the army composition, we've got front line of Clan Rat Spears, no shields. We've got 2 regular clan rats, a couple of sword and board storm vermin, and a halberd storm vermin protecting the rear. We've also got some poison wind globadiers to help deal with the big nasties, 3 units of rat ogres for some armor piercing, and a single doom wheel for a nice terror causing option with AP and all that jazz. So for my opponent, you can see he's got the Soul of Damnation, Regiment of Renown and Hell Cannon, a decent pick against the Skaven if you don't expect them to bring artillery. And on this map, I didn't think I could get away with direct line of sight artillery, although in hindsight, if I would have set up on this hill, I would have had pretty good line of sight on my opponent's position here. Probably could have counter artillery skirmished him, although I haven't tried the Soul of Damnation versus Warp Lightning Cannons to see how it does. But anyway, Kholek Suneater is going to be leading his force here, backed up by the Swords of Chaos. He's got a Sorcerer of Fire, a very smart pick to help synergize with the Swords of Chaos. You get that nice Kindle Flame, Burning Head, and Flaming Sword of Ruin. Good stuff. Chaos Warriors with halberds protecting the rear. And then we've got a whole mess of Marauders here, a mix of Chaos Marauders and Chaos Marauders with great weapons. A couple of Hounds scattered around as well, some Aspiring Champions to help support leadership. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get the battle rolling. For my opponent's army composition, there's definitely some elements that I like. The Aspiring Champions are actually a pretty decent pick in this matchup. They have great melee defense, splash attacks, and they deal magic damage, so they're going to be pretty good against things like Plague Monks, Death Runners. I'm not really sure, but you definitely want them saturated in your infantry supporting. But oh man, that Soul of Damnation, a brutal hit right in the middle of those Globadiers and those Storm Vermin, so getting some really nice value so far. Looks like I have forgotten my Assassin. Hopefully we'll get him moving in just a moment here, but yeah, some brutal hits coming down from that Soul of Damnation. And look at its refire rate, man, this thing just chucks out those artillery blasts like it's nothing. But we're going to come in here quickly and start disrupting the formation a little bit with this Doom Wheel, then follow up with a nice charge from the Rat Ogres. And yeah, just the Vermintide's rolling forward. You can see we're going to be pushing forward. Kholek is a decent pick in this matchup. He can help deal with Doom Wheels, things like that. We're going to try and bait the Doom Wheel over here. Use the Doom Wheel as bait and get Kholek and those other units over here. We've got some Storm Vermin following up with Clan Rat Spears. Skrulk's moved up through the center. He's going to be draining away some of these Marauders and applying that nice Contaminate. Then the Storm Vermin will come in and definitely cut through these Marauders, no problem. Meanwhile, in the front line, Rat Ogres just monster mashing these Marauders. Definitely they won't be able to stand up to those Rat Ogres. But meanwhile, you can see the Storm Vermin and the Poison Globadiers actually both been routed by that Soul of Damnation. Just absolutely brutal there. And yeah, my opponent's bringing these halberds up, getting into kind of a supporting position, obviously trying to keep the Soul of Damnation safe as long as possible. Managed to pull the Doom Wheel away and going to be running some nice cycle charging, a brutal side zap there from the cannons mounted on the side there. But yeah, we are going to get these Clan Rats up and in here despite my opponent's attempts to keep this guy safe. We're going to try and pull it off so we can maybe get these Globadiers back and start to get some value from them, although the Storm Vermin are pretty much done for at this point. The Sword and Board Storm Vermin, though, have done very well in the front line here, trading against Marauders, especially with the support of the Doom Wheel, obviously. It's going to cause some terror, cause these guys to terror route away. We do still have some Aspiring Champions holding up on this side, with most of the other Chaos Infantry being routed off. Mostly it's just the Swords of Chaos and Kholek at this point, who, granted, are an incredibly powerful force to be reckoned with. You can see them kind of taking the high ground here. Very beautiful cinematic shot, and the Soul of Damnation crew going to be getting back online here. Probably continuing to pop off some shots into some of my high-value units. Meanwhile, on the low ground, these Chaos Warriors are dying a death of 1,000 cuts to Skaven Clan Rats surrounding them on both sides here. Meanwhile, the Storm Vermin pushing up the hill, just slogging it out, trying to get up top here and start to deal with the troops up here, because we're definitely compromising the Hell Cannon here, just because enough of the Chaos Infantry is routed that he really can't stop the Vermintide at this point. He's gonna kind of form a little bit of a Death Star with Kholek and the Swords of Chaos here, giving everyone Flaming Sword Ruin. But yeah, there's just so many rats at this point. It's gonna be tricky to deal with, especially because Skrolk has a Liber Bubonicus. We've also got the Doom Wheels online still, so yeah, looking pretty rough for Chaos overall. And see those Doom Wheels, or sorry, the Rat Ogres going to be chasing off those Marauders there. Yeah, obviously the Marauders not going to be able to stand up to the terror. A very nice Burning Head came out from my opponent there. I believe it came through some of these units here. But yeah, at this point, it's going to be pretty rough. Kholek and the Swords of Chaos trying to pull away here and go after a more high-value unit, namely Lord Skrolk. If he can take out my leadership, he might be able to pull this back just through a sheer terror. So obviously, Skaven are weak to terror as well. You can see the tattered Storm Vermin finally making contact with some Marauders here. They're probably not going to last long just because they're so few in number, but the Assassin has finally been brought up. We've dropped the Trophy Heads here and the Liber Bubonicus on Kholek, and just trying to put everything we can to try and finish him off here. If we can finish off Kholek, the leadership, the rest of the Forces of Chaos should waver and rout. So at this point you can see the balance power starting to tip a little more decisively. These Swords of Chaos are taking a lot of damage from these Rat Ogres, and there's Clan Rats with spears mixed in here as well, and Clan Rats with swords, and just vermin everywhere. So Swords of Chaos, although they are very powerful, they're few in numbers. When they get isolated like this, they can start to take a decent amount of damage, especially over time. You can see Globadiers also online, finally going to be pitching their little globes here, which do a surprising amount of damage to large targets. Kholek definitely not wanting to be a part of that, but at this point doesn't really have much of a choice. Terror is going to be an issue though. You can see some of my Rat Ogres getting terrified away. This Doom Wheel just kind of sitting here. We honestly need to bring it back and maybe rear charge Kholek a little bit. Speaking of which, Kholek's going to be dropping Zap right here. Looks like it might actually catch some of those Swords of Chaos, which is unfortunate, but yeah, at this point the morale for Chaos is definitely getting pretty shaky. Kholek is getting very low, just continually getting poked at. We've got the Assassin on him now, and Lord Skrolk just kind of nipping at his heels here, and the globes also flying in there doing some nice damage as well. So at this point the Chaos morale is getting very, very shaky indeed. You can see the Swords of Chaos are pretty much done. We did have some Marauders rally. The Hounds, unfortunately, were forgotten there on the side, so a little bit of a rough play by my opponent there, but I did forget my Assassin for most of the match as well. So, you know, it's all even at the end of the day. Forces of Chaos do shatter there, and it is going to be victory for the Skaven. So, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Yeah, Swords of Chaos were able to get a lot of kills, but at the end of the day, the front line from my opponent just buckled so quickly. Storm Vermin are, I think, going to be a pretty common pick in this matchup. I'm actually starting to like Sword and Board Storm Vermin more and more, especially when you pair them with Lord Skrolk. You can get that Overcast Wither, area of effect, minus 60 armor, so it's very, very powerful in that way. I can definitely get some good value from these guys, although that Soul of Damnation, man, 125 kills, pretty much completely neutralized that unit of Storm Vermin, did a ton of damage to Poison Wind Globadiers. But my opponent just ended up having to invest so much to protect that. The Swords of Chaos are pretty good in this matchup, but you know, they're just so few in number and they're so expensive. It would have been nice to see a little bit wider of an army, just because my opponent, at the end of the day, really didn't have much in the way of frontline beef, and so we were just kind of able to run through them with the Storm Vermin there and the Rat Ogres. Kholek's a decent pick. He was able to rack up 115 kills. Personally, I like Big Bird a little bit better, though, because the magic and missile resistance, like the Poison Wind Globadiers, for example, are going to do pretty much nothing to Big Bird, so something to consider there as well. Just in kind of a theory crafting sense, for the Warriors of Chaos, now that they have that new stuff, let's kind of talk about how that matchup has been affected. So, Big Bird, as I've covered before, probably the best in that matchup. That's going to allow you to bring your caster and lord all in one, which in and of itself saves some money. Transmutation of Lead can be decent, but typically I'll go with these three here: Plague of Rust, Searing Doom, and Gehenna's Golden Hounds. Sometimes I'll cut the Golden Hounds just for some extra cost, but for the sake of, we'll say bring them. And then, yeah, honestly, the Marauders, with great weapons I have found to not really be cost effective, either for the Warriors of Chaos or for Norska. Their melee defense is pretty low, and they are 500 points, so they tend to not typically pay out. What I would recommend is instead you bring the regular Sword and Board Marauders. They're pretty decent. They can give you some numbers on the table. The Demon Spew are probably going to be pretty good in this matchup as well with their high weapon strength and poison. They also have Frenzy and a really nice charge bonus, so they can definitely be helpful in that way. Chariots are a pretty good pick against the Skaven, so I might grab a couple of Chariots as well to help deal with some of the low armor monsters. And because we've got Armor Sundering, we don't necessarily need AP. Might grab a few Marauder Horsemen as well, maybe 3 or 2 to 3, maybe even 4. Weird Spawn could potentially be a good matchup here as well, but I might also grab maybe 1 or 2 Sword and Board Chosen. Their 60 melee defense and their high weapon strength, 120 armor, very resilient infantry, can stand up to pretty much any Skaven infantry relatively easily, and even things like Rat Ogres, just because they're high melee defense, they'll do okay there. And yeah, at this point we still got about 2,000 points of resources left. We could grab an Aspiring Champion just to help hold up leadership and to give that nice magic splash damage there. Let's see what else. Maybe a unit of Chaos Knights with Lances wouldn't be a bad idea. Or perhaps maybe we cut these Aspiring Champions and instead bring the Summoners of Rage. That Bound Chain Lightning could potentially be very powerful at busting up big blobs, and it also gives you that elite anti-large armor piercing to deal with something like Doom Wheel or a Plague Furnace, Hell Pit Abomination, that sort of thing. So maybe something like this would be what I would take against the Skaven, but let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you next time.